Hi, this is Sean D'Souza, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation Podcast. This podcast isn't some magic trick about how to work less. Instead, it's about how to really enjoy the work that you do and to enjoy your vacation time. Hi, it's Sean, and you're listening to the 3-Month Vacation. When I was growing up in India, it would take 7 years to get a phone connection. You'd apply for a landline, and then it was an astounding 7-year wait, which would be fine if the phone worked right away. As kids, we were jumping for joy when that clunky black rotary phone was installed. We were then informed that it would take another few months before we could make our first call. Eventually, however, the phone would work and you could make and receive calls. Unless it rained, in which case the line would go dead. You then had to file a complaint by calling the telephone exchange, or you could go there in person. And because the bureaucracy worked so slowly back then, the only way to get a phone up and running was to bribe the technicians who fixed the lines. And my father refused. In a country where corruption is almost every day, he chose to avoid bribes completely. It wasn't like the bribe was a lot of money, but despite the inconvenience, he stuck to his own way of thinking. Something similar applies to the practice of writing headlines. You have two broad options when you're writing a headline. You can either choose to use clickbait type of headlines or stay away from them, despite knowing that clickbait might get you better results. But what are clickbait headlines anyway? You may or may not be familiar with the term, but you're more than likely to have seen the headlines as you browse through the internet. We could do with some examples here, couldn't we? So here's the first example. His first 4 sentences are interesting. The 5th blew my mind and made me a little sick. Notice that headline? It really has no detail. So when you're reading it, it's like, what's the 5th line? The second headline, she never got married, and now we know why. Same thing there. The headline is unusual, but it's just forcing you to click on it. The third headline is, you won't believe how these 9 clickbait headlines work, and number 8 is a killer. Those are 3 types of pretty odd headlines. They're clickbait. They're forcing you to kind of click on them. But I doubt that we'd stoop to that kind of headline. They're so vague. They're so crazy. Why would we do something like that? And it's true. We wouldn't stoop to that depth when writing a headline. Even so, there are headlines that seem harmless and they still very much fall in the clickbait basket. And these are headlines with this and those and these in them. Let's look at some examples. Headline number 1, supermodels apply these 3 simple tricks to look young. Click to find out more. Headline number 2, try this tonight if you have a nail fungus. Headline number 3, before you start upgrading your Mac to the new operating system, read this. Headline number 4, do you make these mistakes in English? If you noticed all of those 4 headlines, they use this or these, sometimes they use those as well, but this and these and this and these, that's what comes up on a consistent basis. And if you were to go to any news site and scroll down to the bottom, you're likely to find about half of the ads are clickbait ads, and they have this and these in the formula. Which isn't to say that this or these is a bad curiosity driver by itself. In reality, the 4th headline, do you make these mistakes in English? It's not from any website. Instead, it was written by copywriter Max Sackheim around the year 1920, and it did so well, even back then, that it sold over 150,000 home study courses. It ran for 40 years in a row. It was tested time and time again during those 40 years, and it outpulled every other ad. Which is why clickbait artists copy Max Sackheim's style. They use this or these. And marketers, especially the ones that you wouldn't trust very much, will tell you that you should be using the very same type of headlines to get clients. And we're not saying that there's anything wrong with the usage of this or these. In fact, it's the perfect way to get curious prospects to click on your headlines. However, it's one of the biggest weapons in the arsenal of clickbait merchants. And that should make you feel a little bit icky, push you slightly in your corner. But here's the biggest reason why you should avoid clickbait headlines. When you put a specific in a headline, you get more attention. Let's try it, shall we? So let's take a clickbait headline. Why eating this vegetable will help you get more fiber. Versus why eating moderately baked potatoes will help you get more fiber. You see what happened there? We told you it was potatoes. You know what potatoes are. You kind of are curious what moderately baked potatoes are. And that gets you into the article. Instead of saying this vegetable, well, yeah, so you're going to click, but you also have the chance that you're not going to click. And if you like potatoes and you bake potatoes and you think, I wonder what moderately baked potatoes are and how they help me, well, there you go. That specific already makes it more curious. So why put this or these? It's a lazy way to go about it. Let's take another lazy headline, shall we? The clickbait headline is how to boost your Wi-Fi connection by using this secret method. And the normal headline is, or rather the better than clickbait headline is, how to boost your Wi-Fi connection by using self-optimizing Wi-Fi technology. Instead of saying this secret method, you're actually saying self-optimizing Wi-Fi technology. I want to know. I'm not stupid. The customer is not stupid. Nobody, well, most of us are not stupid. And we don't need this or these in our headlines, lazy kind of headlines. When we're writing an article, we just can put in a specific and put in that specific. And you'll find that your headlines are being clicked on more often than if you just go the lazy route. I don't know about you, but to me the normal headline with the specific seems to be doing a much better job. There are no surprises for me as a reader, just curiosity. Eventually, however, this isn't a debate of what's right or what's wrong. My father clearly knew that a bribe was wrong, and he stayed stubbornly on his side of the fence. But you don't have such a clear line in your head. The only thing that you need to know is that spam merchants use it a lot. And if they're using it a lot, and you don't identify as a spam merchant or one of those gurus who just seem to shove everything down your throat, well, then you can write headlines that are very powerful, are extremely curious, in fact, even more curious than this or these headlines, and you get your reader to click. And that's what it's all about. Tum tum.
Let's get all about tum tum. Let's get all about tum tum.
Well, that brings us to the end of this podcast, and let's find out what's happening in psychotactics land. The year started out with the startup series, where we looked at the psychology and strategy of starting up a business, starting up a project. And at some point in time, that product will be available. Another product that I've been working on for quite a while is the first 50 words. Now, You might not know that term just offhand, but the first 50 words are the first paragraph that you put in your article, and almost always that is the hardest thing to do. It was always that struggle. How do I start? How do I start? And you can't seem to get started. And then when you get started, you cancel it. And then you keep coming back and fixing it. And, it's like the equivalent of when you used to write a paper, you crumple the paper and throw it out and throw it out and throw it out. Here we keep deleting it. And that's the problem that it solves. So that's another product that's going to come out. It's in the process of being put together. So these are a couple of things that you might want to look for in the days to come. And I know those are the list of things that are unavailable, but what's available? What's available is the uniqueness course. This is on the 26th of September. You have to go to psychotactics.com/you and goodies. So you goodies. But why is uniqueness so important? And you want to think of it as a company that sells many products. And you would say, well, this company has a uniqueness, but it sells many products. It sells phones, it sells computers, it sells whatever. And every time it releases a product, it has to justify why you should replace your old phone or your old computer. It's not even old, but why you should do that. And so every product and every service and every training that you have needs a uniqueness of its own. It's not just the company that requires a uniqueness. And that's why this course is so important. Again, it's on the 26th of September, and you have to be on the waiting list to get any notification. So go to psychotactics.com/you goodies, and of course that signifies that you're going to get goodies. And that pretty much is it for September. But what are you going to do while you're waiting? Well, 5000 BC is a place that is completely different from any other place on the internet, which means that you can bring your project and ask your questions and you get repeated answers. So sometimes maybe you're writing like a sales page and you want to go about it bit by bit by bit, and you don't want to buy any course. Let's assume you don't. You can ask those questions bit by bit. There are people who have written their whole sales page one comment, one post at a time, and guess who comes in to answer those questions? Yes, I'm there, except when we're on holiday, except when we're taking a break. Even now, with all this situation, we will take our breaks. I'm there all the time, and you get your questions answered in great detail. So you might want to consider 5000 BC if you're feeling pretty lonely in your business, lonely sitting at home, lonely working on the business, not sure who to ask the questions to. Well, this is the place to be. So go to 5000bc.com, and I think you'll find a very kind place. The motto is be kind, be helpful, or be gone. So we'll see you in 5000bc.com, and I'll say bye for now. Bye-bye. Still listening? Remember that rotary phone that I was talking about? Well, eventually we got the phone. And if you know how rotary phones work, there's a wire that's connected to the wall. It was kept on top of this showcase. And one day my parents went out, and at least in India, you didn't need a babysitter. And I might have been around 10 years old, and my brother would have been 9. And we got into a fight while our parents were away. Somehow we ended up wanting to deal with the phone. Both yanked at the phone. The wire came off the wall. The phone fell onto the ground and smashed into what we thought was 1,000 pieces. It took so long to get that phone, and there it was on the floor in 1,000 pieces. That wasn't a good day. Well, that's it from Psychotactics Land. I'll see you in 5000 BC. Bye-bye.